Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I do apologize for the 11 minutes delay. This was due to a technical error. Before we take your questions as usual, there are a number of pending questions from the emails. Abdullah says that she heard one of the shuyukh say that it is not permissible to translate the Quran, and she found in her room a book which has many short surahs translated, and a revert sister asked her for that book in order to learn these surahs. Should she give it to her or should she burn it? First of all, the translation of the Quran is not possible, because no way you can translate the Quran, which is a miracle by itself in its Arabic language, to any other language. There's no way you can translate it. However, scholars say that you may translate the meaning. So this is not close to translating the Quran, but it gives some meaning of what you read, because the translation of the meaning is deficient. It has a lot of shortcomings. However, it gives some idea of the meaning. So it is totally permissible for you to give to that revert sister this book, providing that the translation is correct. So if you know that the translation, inshallah, is authentic and it's correct of the meaning of the Noble Quran, there is no problem in giving it to her, inshallah. Mushtaq says that, can we offer the Maghrib prayer 5 minutes after the adhan? Because some people say that the Maghrib Salah should be done immediately after the adhan. Well, this is wrong. The Maghrib prayer is limited by time. So once the Isha prayer is due, the Maghrib time is over. And how do we know that the Isha time is due? Well, the Prophet told us, ﷺ, that when the redness in the west, in the twilight, disappears, this means that the Maghrib time is over. So from sunset until the redness, where you look at the spot that the sun had set in, you will find redness in the twilight. Once it disappears, this initiates the time of Isha and the end of the time of Maghrib. Therefore, you can pray Maghrib after 5 or 10 minutes or even 15 minutes after the adhan and after the sunset, though it is highly recommended that you pray it as soon as possible, so that you would pray it at the beginning of the time. Nihad says, I read in one of your answers to the period of iddah for a woman who obtains khul' from her husband, that it is only 1 month or one menstrual cycle. The local imams from India was suggesting it was 3 months. Could you please give me the authentic source, etc.? It's an issue of dispute, like most things. However, it is not befitting that we say that this is the verdict of an imam from India or from Saudi Arabia or from Egypt or from America. What counts is what is mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah. So in the Quran, we have the mentioning of the 3 monthly cycles. And this is for those who divorce the first or the second divorce. And it can also mean for the third divorce as well. But the Sunnah, the authentic Sunnah, Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas, may Allah be pleased with him, when his wife obtained khul', the Prophet ﷺ told her to anticipate one period, one menses cycle, and then she can remarry. And this is the authentic Sunnah that explains to us the Quran. Not only that, it is also what logic tells you, because if we have the sunnah that explains the Quran, one may ask, okay, what's the logic between differentiating between the first and second divorce and the third divorce? What's the logic behind that? Scholars say that Allah Azza wa Jal prolonged, most likely, the period of iddah for the first and second divorce so that they could reconcile. If it's a month and by the time their anger calms down, if it's only 1 month or 1 monthly cycle, they would certainly separate. But if it's 3 monthly cycles, and every time the husband sees his wife, she's in his house, Allah tells us, do not take them out of their houses while she is in her iddah. So every morning, every week, every month, he sees her and he desires her, and she sees him and she is angry of what she has done to her. With the grace to him, with the grace of Allah, they will reconcile. As for the mukhtali'ah, or the woman who seeks khul', it is something that she has paid to her husband so that he would agree on setting her free. Not a divorce. It's something, a compensation she gives to her husband. And it's not a divorce. And that is why once he agrees and he takes some money, or he takes whatever she gives him, it would not be logical to tell her, wait for 3 monthly cycles. This may take a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months, depending on her cycle, while she wants to be set free. He agrees to let her go. He doesn't want her anymore. He took the money. She wants out. And we tell her, no, wait 3 monthly cycles. So the most authentic opinion is that the one who seeks khul' has only 1 monthly cycle. Laura says, my non-Muslim grandmother included me in her will. I know that a Muslim cannot inherit from a non-Muslim, but the money and the land, she wrote a will giving it to me after her death. So does that make it halal? Also, it should be noted that what she gave me was money from investment account that probably is riba based. And she also gave me the land which was sold, and I received some of the money, etc. So the issue is, what's the ruling on a Muslim inheriting a kafir? The Prophet said, alayhi salam, a Muslim does not inherit a kafir, and a kafir does not inherit a Muslim. Because inheritance is a strong bond and connection that Islam wants to separate Muslims from the non-Muslims, even if they are next of kin, even if they are your parents or your offspring. However, it is the consensus of scholars that a Muslim can write a will. Well, actually, a non-Muslim can include in his will a Muslim. And also the majority of scholars say that a Muslim can also include in his will a non-Muslim. Because when you write a will, this is like a gift. So what's the ruling on me giving my kafir brother, my sibling, giving him a gift? This is completely permissible. As in the case of, for example, Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, he sent a piece of cloth made of silk to his brother who was a disbeliever in Mecca. Asma bint Abi Bakr also requested the Prophet ﷺ to be kind to, and this is one of the narrations, to her relatives, etc. It is beyond doubt that it is permissible to give and to receive gifts from a disbeliever. And a will is like so. However, scholars limited this will to be in equivalent to what we are allowed to write in our wills. And that is 1/3 of whatever you leave behind. So if your mother, Sister Laura, wrote to you the whole thing, the whole 9 yards, then the majority of scholars say that this is not allowed. You can only take 1/3. And if the remaining of the heirs, for example, if you have other siblings, if you have grandparents of your mother's side, if you have someone who would inherit in Islam, your mother, if they were all Muslims, including your mother, if there are people as such heirs, they have to give you permission to take the whole thing. Otherwise, you can only take 1/3. There is an opinion of scholars, of some scholars, saying that in the case of a non-Muslim, if he dies and all of his will, all of his inheritance, all of his money would go to the kafir government. In this case, if he writes a will to his relative who's Muslim, then the Muslim may take the whole thing. And inshallah, if this is the case, if the kafir would benefit from the remaining 2/3 and it goes to the government, you're more entitled to take it as a will, but not as an inheritance, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. We have some calls. Okay, we have Abdullah from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Good evening. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'm fine. Good evening to you as well.
Jazakallahu khairan. I have 4 questions, Sheikh.
Okay.
The first one is regarding zakat. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ gave the go-ahead for a companion, a woman, to give zakat to her husband because she is not responsible for supporting him. Does that mean you can give zakat to your mother if you are not the one supporting her, that if she is under your father and you are her son, you can give her zakat? That's the first question.
Okay.
Second question is regarding the reading on musalla, places of prayers, not a masjid.
Okay.
Maybe in a business district, when it is time for prayer, you spread the mat and then you pray. Does it mean that you also give it the same ruling as a masjid when you go to that place, you do tahiyatul masjid and all the other benefits of the masjid?
Okay.
That's the second question. The third is regarding we know that the good deeds of a son reflect on his father.
Yes.
Does it reflect on his grandfather, as his grandparents? That's the question also, the third one.
Okay. I will answer
the last one is regarding the question I asked last week, regarding of where the people are, doing Islamic studies and teaching Islamic knowledge. Will it also be the same as somebody sitting down in his room and watching Islamic programs like Huda Apr?
I didn't get your question. I did not understand your question.
I mean, regarding the question I asked last week, regarding the place where you sit down and learn Islamic knowledge with teacher, and then the Prophet ﷺ said that it is one of the gardens of paradise and you should sit there and get the barakah. So my question is, watching Islamic programs on TV, sitting down in your room watching them on TV, does that count as such?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. You're welcome, Akhi. Kamil from Saudi Arabia. Kamil?
Yes.
Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I'm online.
Assalam wa barakatuh.
May I please ask you 5 questions, sir?
Okay.
My first question is a person sinning if his heart loves Medina more than Mecca, and he even openly declares it when questioned?
Okay, Medina over Mecca.
Yes. And can one confess this?
Okay, second question.
Can one make dua in one's own mother tongue in the sujood of Fard Salah?
In his own language, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In the Fard Salah.
Okay.
If a lady does wudu, prays, applies lipstick, and then if due to some reason she breaks her wudu and needs to redo her wudu, must she remove all traces of lipstick, or can she do wudu over the lipstick?
Is the lipstick waterproof?
No, it's not waterproof, it's a regular lipstick.
Okay.
A salah prayed in Masjid Nabawi is 1,000 times rewarded more than the regular salah. I just wanted to know that this reward is applicable only to the Fard Salah prayed behind the Imam of the Masjid, or is this reward applicable even to the Nafal Salah that one may pray in the Masjid in Nabawi?
Okay, I will answer the questions, inshallah.
And so my fifth question, please.
Okay.
My son is 10.5 years old and he prays regularly, but how do we know from when Salah becomes fard on him? What signs do we watch out for?
You mean
that he has very fine hair on the private parts.
So you're asking about the signs of reaching the age of puberty?
From when Salah will become fard on him, there is no excuse for him to not be able to miss a single Salah.
Okay. I will answer.
Thank you so much, sir, and
you're
reward
welcome.
you.
Wajazak. Umar from Saudi. Umar from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have 3 questions.
Number 1.
Okay. The first question is, I want to ask about the dua where we say, "Rabbi ighfir li wal walidayya warhamhuma kama rabbayani saghir." Now this, let's say you were not brought up by your own biological parents. Does this dua go to your own biological parents or your foster parents?
Okay.
My second question is, if we are traveling to our country for 2 weeks, let's say, and we are going to, inshallah, to have a wedding for my daughter, and we'll be there for 2 weeks, and life is going to be hectic up and down. So are we permitted to shorten our prayers or not?
Are you traveling to your own home country?
Yes, my own home country.
So you're not actually settled here. So eventually you will go back to your home country one day.
One day, inshallah.
Yeah, you're not migrating to Canada to. So you're definitely
No.
okay. I will answer the question, inshallah. Third question.
Okay, my third question is the dua that the groom makes it for the bride and rak'atain to pray for the bride to pray before consummating. Is it before consummating the marriage or after? I mean, after consummating the marriage or after the nikah immediately? If let's say the nikah will be conducted during lunch hours, and maybe according to traditions, maybe the husband will come and pick his wife at night. So this dua that he's supposed to pray for the wife and the 2 rak'ahs, is it in the evening when he picks his wife or at the time of immediately after the nikah?
Okay, I will answer the question, inshallah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jazakallah.
Wa jazak. Okay, let's take question number 1. Abdullah from Nigeria. He's asking about the hadith of the wife of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with her, when she sought the permission to speak to the Prophet ﷺ, and I believe that her name was Zainab, and she came with another woman, and she asked the Prophet ﷺ that she has gold, she has money, and she wants to pay the zakat, and her husband, who's Abdullah bin Mas'ud, is telling her, give the zakat to me because I'm in need and I'm part of the poor and the needy. So she wanted to verify if this is correct, and the Prophet told her, yes, it is correct. And you can give it to your husband. You will have 2 rewards, the rewards of the zakat and the reward of connecting to someone who is close to you. So he's asking, by this, can we also give our zakat to our parents if they are not dependent on me or of my offspring, my daughter who's married? Can I give her the zakat? And the answer is no. This is different. The scholars say that the zakat cannot be paid to someone whose your sponsorship is mandatory. You must provide to them. So for me as an individual, I cannot give my zakat to my parents because it's a must for me to provide for them, even if they're well off, or even if one of them is married to someone else and they are not dependent on me. If they're poor or needy, I have to provide for them. Giving them the zakat is not permissible, except if they have a loan, and this is a different issue. Likewise, my offspring, my children, I cannot give them from the zakat because it's mandatory upon me, even if they're married, that I provide for them as well. And my wife, I'm obliged to provide for her. Now, it's not the other way around. My wife is not obliged to provide for me. So if she has zakat and I'm poor, she can give me from that zakat money. Second question, he says that the musalla, the prayer hall, the prayer room, that is not a masjid. Does it require 2 rak'ahs of greeting the masjid or tahiyyat al-masjid before sitting down? The answer is no. It does not take the ruling of a masjid. Number 3, we know that the good deeds of a child or a boy would reach and benefit his father, because we know that whatever he does, he is the earning of the father. It's the father's earning. So does this also cascade to the grandparent as well? And the answer is no. This is only limited to his father, direct father. Now he's saying that he asked a previous question last week. Akhi, I don't know what I had for lunch yesterday, seriously. So don't expect me to remember what you asked last week. So, but what I understood is that the hadith where the Prophet tells us that whenever a group of people gather in a masjid to study the Quran, that the sakeenah would descend and the angels would surround them, and the mercy of Allah would attain them, and Allah would mention them in a gathering better than their gathering. So he's saying that if I'm watching as Huda, if I'm watching a lecture on TV that is Islamic and I'm learning from it, can it bear the same reward? And the answer is no. This is specifically mentioned with the condition of being in the masjid. However, this doesn't mean that you should not do it. Allah Azza wa Jal would reward you for just watching the show, not for me, just watching the show to learn and to know your deen and to ask questions and to improve your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. Definitely you are on a quest to reach Jannah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reward you. Kamil from Saudi Arabia, she says that if someone loves Medina more than Mecca, would he be sinful? And the answer is no. Definitely not. So you can love Medina more, and a lot of the people love Medina more than Mecca because they feel the tranquility in Medina more than in Mecca. And the Prophet said, whoever is capable of dying in Medina, he should do so. So you should go and move and relocate to Medina if you're capable of doing it. She's saying that in Fard Salah, in the mandatory obligatory prayers, can we make dua in our own language while in prostration? And the answer is yes. As long as you do not know Arabic, you can do so. Third question, she says, applying lipsticks while in the state of wudu, and I break my wudu. Can I perform wudu without removing the lipsticks? And this depends. If the lipstick is waterproof, meaning that it has a layer that prevents the water from reaching your skin, your lip, then in this case you must remove it. And I'm not good at lipsticks, but I believe that it does keep a layer, and if you put water on it, you find as if there is oil or some sort of cream that makes the water drops deflect away from it. So I think that it is something that prevents water from reaching your lips, and you have to remove it. Likewise, of course, with the makeup, and we spoke about this last week, I think. She's saying that the multiplication of the prayer. We know that the Prophet said, one prayer in Medina is 1,000 times greater than anywhere else except in Al-Haram of Mecca. And one prayer in Al-Haram of Mecca is 100,000 times more in reward than anywhere else. So she's saying, is this only limited for praying with in the congregation with the imam, or praying the obligatory prayer, or it's also it includes any voluntary prayer? It includes anything you pray in both harams. And her fifth question is that her son is 10.5 years old, and she's asking, when is prayer mandatory upon him? Well, the Prophet told us, order them to pray when they're 7 and spank them to pray when they're 10. So it becomes mandatory upon him when he's 10 years of age. However, there is a difference between saying that it is mandatory upon him to pray and upon us to order him, and to say that he's sinful or not. Because being sinful cannot be unless he has reached the age of puberty. The Prophet told us that the pen has been uplifted, meaning that there is no sins recorded, over 3 people. And a person who's insane until he wakes up and becomes sane. A person who's asleep until he wakes up from his sleep, and a child until he reaches the age of puberty. And the signs of reaching the age of puberty are one of 3 for males, and they are one of 4 for females. So for the males and the females, if they grow the harsh and hard hair over the pubic area, not the soft one, but the real thing that is usually shaved, or if they reach the age of 15, or if they ejaculate. So these are 3 signs. Scholars say that if it takes place, then the person, the individual, has reached the age of puberty. And the females have a 4th feature, or a 4th sign, which is the menses, the monthly period. If this happens, then whatever they do, they're accountable for it. Amr from Saudi Arabia, she says that when we say the dua, oh Allah forgive me and for my parents who have raised me as they have raised me when I was young. If she was raised by foster family, not her biological parents, would this dua go to them? And the answer is no. Because the rights of your biological parents is second to none compared to anyone else. So even those who brought you and who dedicated their time and life to make you the person you are, they are rewarded, but they do not have the same obligations you have towards your real parents. So there is no harm at all in asking Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive them and to give them long life and good health and provide them with money and wealth directly, and keep this dua when you do it, whenever you do it, for your real parents, and Allah knows best. She's asking, okay, before continuing, we have Ridwan from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, going back to this issue of the 2 rak'ah prayer as you enter a mosque.
Okay.
My question is whether it is required for one to pray if he enters the mosque for a different function, not for the sake of performing prayer. Maybe he goes in to perform for another function, either a wedding gathering or some other function. Is he still required to perform the mandatory, the required 2 rak'ahs?
Okay.
Or is it only when he enters to perform a prayer?
Okay. Second question.
Alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay. Going back to Umar's question, she's saying that she's traveling, inshallah, and she'll be spending 2 weeks in her hometown, in her country, for the marriage of her daughter. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless her marriage and grant her a husband that fears Allah Azza wa Jal and cherishes her and loves her till they die. So she's asking now, it's going to be hectic, 2 weeks, and I'm asking, is it permissible for me to shorten and combine the prayer? And the answer depends on your status. See, when you are living in country B, which is not your hometown, and you go every year or every couple of years to your country A, which is your hometown, and you intend after 10, 20, 30, 50 years, eventually it's not your country, you're an expat, so you're definitely going to go back to your country, origin country, after a while. If this is the case, it is not permissible for you when you go back to your country to shorten prayer. Why? Because you are headed back to your own country. So you must pray full rak'ahs, full prayers, and on time. This is different if you are traveling from B, country B, which you are working in or your husband's working on, and you travel to country C. This is not your hometown. So you may shorten and combine for the 2 weeks, no problem. Or if you migrated, like a lot of the expats, for example, travel to country B and they acquired the citizenship and they are locals now and they live in country B, though they every now and then go and visit country A, which is their motherland. In this case, because they migrated and settled in country B, whenever they travel to their motherland or country A, they may shorten and they may combine. Why? Because their permanent residency has moved and shifted. Now, for those expats, it's not their permanent residency. They're still there for a period of time. Allah Azza wa Jal only knows how long, and therefore, I hope this answers your question. She's saying that the dua that is to be said before, and the 2 rak'ahs, are they to be said before consummating the marriage or after consummating the marriage? Excuse me. First of all, there are 2 du'as. One du'a is to be said once you marry your wife and you put your hand over her forehead and say, Allahumma inni as'aluka min khayriha wa khayri ma jubilat alayhi wa a'udhu bika min sharriha wa sharri ma jubilat alayhi. Oh Allah, I seek that you give me the goodness and the goodness that she created on, and to protect me from her evil and the evil that she was created on. So this can happen the minute you get time to sit with your wife, even before consummating the marriage. The second dua is to be said only before intercourse. Bismillah, Allahumma jannibna shaitan wa jannib shaitan ma razaqtana. Bismillah, oh Allah, protect us from Satan and protect what you have given me from Satan as well. So it's both ways. So this only happens before intercourse, of course, the night of consummating the marriage. The 2 rak'ahs, these 2 rak'ahs are not based from the sunnah on the night, the wedding night. These 2 rak'ahs are not, they're not backed by an authentic hadith for that specific night. However, every man and his wife are encouraged to pray 2 rak'ahs a night for the rest of their lives, every single night. And the Prophet has recommended this and told us that whoever does this would be registered at the side of Allah Azza wa Jal as among those males and females who mention Allah and remember Allah Azza wa Jal plenty and a lot. But to say that there is a specific 2 rak'ahs, when a man enters his bedroom and he tells his wife, let's pray 2 rak'ahs as seeking barakah from Allah Azza wa Jal, this is not part of the sunnah, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Ravi from America.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your program. Like we watch regularly your question answer, and we are learning so much from your program.
This is kind of you.
MashaAllah.
Jazakallah khair.
I have a question. Like I have 4 kids.
Okay.
And mashallah, they are doing alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, they are doing very good.
Mashallah.
But the question is like how long I'm responsible for the age-wise. Like for instance, my daughter, she's 23. And she lives with me, and the other one is 18, the 12, and my son is 7. So like I just for the knowledge, like I just need to find out like how long you're responsible for the good and bad deeds for up to what age? Is there any age limit or until they live with you?
Okay. Any more questions, Ravi?
Jazakallah khair, my brother.
Wajazak, hayyakallah. Okay, I think that we have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we'll be right back.
We should never underestimate the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the tsunami that happened in Japan that killed so many people. It is time for a change. It is time for us to come forth and to make that change, my brothers and sisters. We must enjoin the right and forbid the evil in every land, in every Muslim land. We have to go back to the original source. And the original source is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are actually here in downtown Cairo, Egypt, in front of the 44th Cairo International Book Fair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In a game of golf, both the caddy and the golfer have the same goal: to get the ball into the hole. Interest-free banking is similar. With a clear view of the fairway, a predefined agreement without shifting targets, things should end up where you want them. Your deposits are safe, and your funds are ethically managed with a transparent and equitable approach to sharing risk and reward. No interest burden means more time to relax without the worry of nasty surprises. Rest assured, our interest is mutual. Jazz Bank, Nigeria's first full-fledged non-interest bank.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Ridwan from Nigeria's question was that if a person enters the masjid not for the sake of praying, but to attend a function such as a wedding or to do something or to do maintenance for the masjid, is he required to pray the 2 rak'ahs of tahiyyat al-masjid? And the answer is, it depends on whether you're going to sit down or not. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us not to sit down until you pray 2 rak'ahs. So if I'm going to stand up for half an hour, for an hour in the masjid, and not sit down, you're not required to pray these 2 rak'ahs. But do not sit until you pray these 2 rak'ahs, regardless of your intention in entering the masjid. Ravi from the USA, he says that he has 4 children. May Allah Azza wa Jal preserve them and all the Muslims' offspring and children as well. And he's saying, till when am I accountable for their deeds? Well, first of all, you're not accountable for the deeds, but you're accountable in ordering them to do what is mandatory and to stay away from what is a sin. For example, if you have a teenage boy, 17 years of age, and he says that, listen, I'm in the States, I'm a teenage, I'm entitled to party, so we have a Saturday night party and I need your car keys to go with the boys and pick up the girls and have fun, a good time. And you say, okay, 17 years of age, he's definitely reached the age of puberty and he is accountable at the side of Allah. It's his call. Take the car keys. No, you must prevent him within your jurisdiction and according to your ability. So I will not give him the car keys and I will ground him. It is not permissible for you to go to mixed parties where there's booze and beer and mixing and Allah knows what's there. Oh, I have my freedom, I want to do whatever I want. You can try your level best to prevent him within the boundaries of law, because unfortunately, you know what the law does to people who try to discipline their offspring. These countries, unfortunately, have no family ties. The girls go, the boys go, do whatever they want, fornicate, abuse drugs, do prostitution. Who cares? You do not raise your hand. Let them do whatever they want. This is destroying them. You are corrupting my family. Either this or we take them away from you. Alhamdulillah on the blessing of Islam and living in a Muslim country. This is the price you have to pay, unfortunately. May Allah Azza wa Jal keep all of these things away from all our viewers or our Muslim brothers and sisters. But unfortunately, this is taking place. So you're accountable for what you allow and not allow. So you wake up in the Fajr time, your son is 25 years old, he doesn't wake up for prayer, you must wake him up. Now, he said, he's a man, he's a grown-up man. Yes, it's your responsibility. Isn't he living under your roof? In this case, as you provide him with food, as you take care of his health, likewise, more importantly, you must take care of his religious commitment. So you are accountable for not ordering him or not preventing him. But whatever he does on his own, he is accountable at the side of Allah. So the school says you have to have internet access to make your homeworks and research. You provide him with that and he watches porn. And you don't know. I can't be 24/7 behind him, watching him and putting CCTV all over the place. This is between him and Allah Azza wa Jal. Then Allah will not hold you accountable. But if you facilitate, he says, Dad, I need to go to Holland. They say that marijuana is free there. So I just want to go there for a road trip with a couple of my friends for a couple of weeks. And you do allow him, this is your sin and your responsibility. So I hope this answers your question. Ma'ruf says, I was told that we should force our tears to come out when we make dua and really want something. Is this true? First of all, forcing your tears may be a little bit far-fetched. But is it recommended to cry? Scholars say that it is recommended to cry when you recite the Quran, when you prostrate, when you make dua, etc. And one would say, okay, why would I do that? Why would I cry? Well, crying is a sign of the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. Abdullah ibn Shakhir, may Allah be pleased with him, said that I went to a room when the Prophet was praying, ﷺ, and I heard to his chest a noise similar to the noise when you have a pot on fire and it's boiling. So he's crying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's weeping. Why would he do such a thing? Because when you remember Allah Azza wa Jal, when you remember the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you remember that Allah has created all this universe which does not mean anything at the greatness of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it is nothing compared to the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I as an individual, I am nothing at all compared to this huge universe, let alone compared to the greatest of Allah Azza wa Jal. When you pray in the middle of the night and you recollect, or that is recall your sins, your shortcomings, the things you've done to others, the things that you have done towards to Allah the Almighty, and you feel how small and humiliated you are standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, praying and asking for forgiveness, you cannot help but to cry. Likewise, when you ask Allah Azza wa Jal for forgiveness, when you're prostrating or you're making dua, if it comes from the heart, it rips your heart out. Because you know how bad you were, and you still are. And you don't know how Allah Azza wa Jal is going to conclude your life. So you keep on praying, you keep on feeling this submissiveness and humility to Allah Azza wa Jal, and you cannot help but to cry. And that is why this is a little bit difficult. Why? Because you may try it for a year or two and nothing happens. But if it does happen, then you're among the fortunate one. That is why you're encouraged to try and make it happen by faking it for a few years, trying to convince yourself that you're crying out of the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, and then Allah may bless you by making it and transforming it into sincere fear of Allah and crying. So what's the benefit if I cry and a tear falls from my eye? The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that there are two eyes would not see hell. Meaning, if my eyes will not see hell, then I would not be admitted to hell altogether, which means that definitely I'll be in paradise. And one of them was an eye that remembered Allah Azza wa Jal and tears came out of it. So fearing Allah Azza wa Jal and crying out of this fear is a carte blanche that you will not enter hell and you will go to paradise with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal. So yes, if you can force yourself, if you can fake it and pretend that you are doing this out of the fear of Allah, it would gradually turn into real and genuine fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. Otherwise, then, try your level best. We have Umar from Saudi. Umar.
Hello.
Yes, Umar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sorry for asking again. I just wanted to clarify about the shortening of Salah.
Okay.
If we are traveling also within our country, let's say from one place to the other, because my daughter, where she is staying now, it's not where she's going to get married. It's another city.
Okay.
And it's a long distance travel.
Okay.
And another thing, I want, inshallah, Allah to reward you for praying for my daughter and all the Muslims, inshallah. May Allah reward you and accept your dua. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Jazakallah.
Wa jazaki. Nana from Saudi Arabia? Naila from Saudi Arabia.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Yes.
I want to know, the first question, I want to know the reason why the Jews hate Sayyidina Jibril so much.
Okay.
And the second question is, my husband is planning to go for jihad in Syria.
Okay.
And alhamdulillah, mashallah, we are financially okay. And he has been giving sadaqah to some family in Syria regularly. So I told him it's not by fighting to go by jihad. You can give your, because financially okay, you can give the sadaqah and the help, it's a way of jihad. But he's asking me to go jihad. He wants to fight in Syria. What's your opinion regarding this?
Okay, I will answer the question, inshallah.
Okay. Thank you.
What is that? Okay, Umar from Saudi Arabia, she is clarifying that she's going to her home country, which is A, and I've been doing this a lot now, A and B, no problem. So she's going back to her home country, but not to her residency. So let's assume that she's from India. They live in Mumbai, and the marriage is actually taking place in Chennai. So this is a different story, because if she goes to Mumbai, she cannot shorten. But if she goes anywhere else in the country, this is considered to be traveling, and she may shorten and combine when needed, inshallah. Naila says that, why does the Jew hate the archangel Jibreel, peace be upon him? I have no knowledge of that, probably because of the fact that he is the appointed angel to send the torment and the punishment, and they fear that there will come a time that they will be punished and tormented by Allah on his hands. But personally, I do not know. Definitely it's mentioned in the books of tafsir. I have no knowledge of that. Her husband, second question is that her husband wants to go to jihad physically in Syria. Though, mashallah, they give a lot of money and they give sadaqah and so on, he wants to go physically for jihad. And this is a dilemma. See, jihad is one of the greatest deeds you could ever do. And each and every individual has this urge in him. Otherwise, he would be labeled as a hypocrite. The Prophet ﷺ said that who does not fight in jihad and does not talk to himself about it, meaning that inshallah next year, inshallah the following year, then if he dies, he would die on a branch of hypocrisy. So jihad, without any doubt, is one of the greatest deeds in Islam. And that is why all the non-Muslims, all the enemies of Islam fight it, even the hypocrites themselves, those who rule some of the countries or have the power to prevent people from doing or not doing. They even hate this because they know that with jihad, nothing would stop in the way of Islam. And jihad is not terrorism. Jihad is not blowing up people. Jihad is not killing civilians. Jihad is an army versus an army. And the reason is not to gain money. We have all the money we need. It's not to gain dignity. We have Islam, and this is the most dignified religion. It is for the purpose of spreading Islam and allowing people to have their freedom, whether to worship Allah through Islam or to worship Him through their own religion. So jihad is the greatest deed of Islam. The Prophet did it, the companions did it, and all the Muslims have been doing it except for the past few hundred years when the Muslims are not being practicing anymore. However, having said that, there are conditions for jihad. And scholars say that jihad is mandatory. One, if the enemy attacks your country. So if you're in a city and an enemy attacks your country, you don't say, we have to accept the other. We have to tolerate. No, he's attacking you. Attack him back. Kill him. Annihilate him. Don't allow anybody to mess with your country or with your city. He's attacking you. Secondly, if you're passerby and there are two armies, the Muslims and the non-Muslims, and they're just about to fight, and you come in between and you join those and say, oops, I'm in the wrong place. Listen guys, I'm just here for vacation, I'm going back. No, you have to fight because you are in the midst of the actions, you have to be involved. Thirdly, when the Imam calls for jihad. So if the Imam, the Muslim Imam, says that everybody has to be deployed and we're fighting the disbelievers, then this is a must. Now for your husband, this is not the case. First of all, because there is doubt whether what's happening in Syria is actual jihad or not. When they began fighting, this was inappropriate and unacceptable. And this what provoked the Kafir government to attack them and to kill the women and rape them and kill the children and bomb the places. They provoked it. Now, as we stand, we cannot say, okay, it's their mistake. No, khalas, the harm has been done. And the fighting is going on. We support those who fight the Kafir regime. We support them with everything we can. However, going to them, to fight with them, they don't need men. They need your money. Secondly, we cannot go and fight wherever there is a group of Muslims fighting unless there is an Islamic flag that joins them. And this is, to my knowledge, not applicable in Syria or elsewhere. So your husband is not permitted to go. If he wants, he could help the people, he could help the refugees, he could provide them with charity, providing that he's not caught and put behind bars as it happens everywhere. Going physically is not advisable at all, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have. Until we meet you next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance and in your deen